Hello and welcome back to Tinker Talks Guns. The Yeet Cannon has arrived. Now I know I'm a bit behind on this one. Everybody and their sister Sally has already made videos about this gun, and they pretty much tell you everything you need to know. But mine has a story. So, before we delve into that, I'd like to thank my supporters on Patreon. Pretty much everything costs money, and your contributions help more than you know. I'd also like to thank channel benefactors like Pinto's Guns in Renton, Washington, Rain City Shooting Center, other channel benefactors who've provided ammunition, guns for me to present to you, and all manner of other help to the channel. So thank you all very much. So, the long-awaited Yeet Cannon. About 5 years ago, they introduced this, a prototype of it, at SHOT Show. High Point did. And it differs in a number of respects from the original C9. It has forward serrations, which are cast into the Zamac alloy slide. But it has the same sights and adjustable rear sight of the C9. This one has an extended threaded barrel, though you can get it either way. And they have changed the texture on the grip very, very much for the better, and given it a 10-round double stack to single stack magazine. It's actually sort of a semi-double stack because they're staggered rather less than in a lot of comparable magazines. And basically, it's a product-improved version of the C9. And we really don't need to delve too deep into that. Now, it also has a Picatinny rail with 2 slots, which is very nice. And this full base on the magazine, which is also very nice. It does take a good thwack to get it to seat properly, and it is occasionally a bit whimsical about dropping with the mag release, but it's a High Point. So high expectations will not necessarily be rewarded. Basic details of the gun, for those of you unfamiliar: it's a straight blowback 9mm. It uses a striker-fired mechanism, single-action mechanism, derived from a mechanism that's been around almost as long as semi-automatic pistols. It has a manual safety, which, you know, it works. It's not fabulous, but it works. And it has a magazine disconnect, and it locks open on empty, and you have to, there's no manual slide release, so you have to rack the slide to get it to drop when you insert the new magazine. All basic High Point stuff. The trigger on this example is it's a High Point trigger. That means it's heavy and it's long, and it feels much more like a semi-double action Glock trigger than a actual true single action trigger. And the reset, I have to drop the magazine to show you the reset. The reset, and it's not going to help if I do it that way, the reset is quite long, as you can see. There. Basically, the trigger comes all the way back out like a double action trigger, although with somewhat less travel. Now, contrary to every other High Point I've ever seen, this trigger is not notably crunchy. It's actually kind of smooth. It is by no means a good trigger, but it's the best High Point trigger I have experienced. And this is not a review gun. This is a gun that was purchased. We'll get to that. So, I don't really think we need to go to the tabletop for this one, because everybody and their sister Sally has covered this gun extensively, and High Points are pretty well-trodden ground. Suffice to say that you can lock the slide back and access a pin that will allow you to remove the slide for field stripping. High Point does not recommend this. Their theory is that you'll simply run a bore brush down it occasionally and hose out the inside with whatever gun cleaner lubricant you choose to use. And in fairness, that seems to work. So the story of my particular Yeet Cannon is that when the reviews broke all on one day, because they were, sample guns sent out, I happened to go to Rain City that day, and I grabbed Ryan, the boss, and said, "The Yeet Cannon is here," and explained that, and he thought that was pretty funny and cool. Excuse me. And immediately looked it up online, and I said, I'm going to buy one when I have the money. And he immediately ordered it. And he said, it's cheap. We'll figure out the money when it arrives. Which I thought was very nice of him. Little did I know, an hour and a half later or so, he changed his mind and decided that he didn't need any money from me for it, that they were just going to give it to me because they really like when I come in and show them weird guns. And they're a good bunch of folks, and I really appreciate it. I was always going to get a Yeet Cannon, but now I will treasure it because it was a gift from some very nice, helpful people. And how's it work? Though the trigger is less obnoxious than you would expect in actual firing, and consistent with my previous experience with high points, it's actually surprisingly nice shooting. The recoil impulse is relatively soft, and that's largely owing to the immense weight of this cast Zamac slide. It's accurate, and the trigger, as I said, is less obnoxious when actually firing it than you would expect. It's actually very decent to shoot, which surprises a lot of people who've never fired a high point before. With my first high point in .40 caliber, I took it to the range and proceeded to shoot the crap out of it, and the range people were shocked at how well it performed. And all I could say was, well, I can shoot. Anyway, high points are what high points are. They're huge for what they offer. They're heavy for what they offer. They're top heavy because of a polymer frame and a massive slide. The controls are rudimentary but functional. And it is what it is. It's a gun designed to a price point. And that price point is to be the cheapest all-American made handgun available that anyone can afford. And the thing about them is generally speaking, they work. And they just keep on working. It may not be as ammunition agnostic as more expensive pistols. You may have to find what it likes and feed it that. But they work. And if something goes awry, High Point's customer service is absolutely unmatched. They send you a new gun, period, forever. You break it, they fix it or replace it, period. That's impressive. And of course, it's only available because these are so cheap to manufacture. But they stand behind their product, and they are unabashed about what they're making. They are making a cheap, affordable, all-American made gun that will work. And people have done destructive tests on these. You can find them on YouTube, and it is almost awe-inspiring what it takes to break one of these things. And at least one of those torture tests where they deliberately went to extremes to break the gun, High Point sent them a new gun to replace it under warranty. It's kind of amazing. Oh, one thing I'd forgotten, this has a grip safety. It works. It doesn't bother me. But I thought I'd better mention it. So it is what it is. It is a simple, relatively crude, but functional pistol. Now, the pre-release guns, several of the reviewers did experience instances of malfunctions. And I did too. I've had 2 malfunctions with this gun in, I don't know, a couple hundred rounds. The first one was with some short overall length, lightly loaded match ammo that I do for my CZ, which a lot of my 9mm don't like, so that's not really a knock on the gun. The second malfunction was with MagTech 115 grain ball, and it was exactly what you saw. The round stood up straight in the magazine and just jammed in instead of feeding. That was the only malfunction. That was not directly attributable to ammo, and it didn't repeat itself in the subsequent 50 to 100 rounds. Maybe it's a break-in issue, I don't know. But every problem I've had with this gun, other than that, was ammunition related. I had a dodgy reload jam in the chamber, but we'll draw the curtains of charity over that event. So it's a solid, pretty reliable gun. And no, it's not just as good as. Let's face it, it just isn't. You can get comparable features, performance, and superior quality for not much more than these guns. But, well, it's not just as good as, they work. And if they don't work, High Point makes it right. For the kind of prices these sell for, I'm not really sure what more you could ask. I don't intend to rely on this gun. For me, this is just fun. And I wanted one. I've always admired High Point's self-awareness about who they are, what they do, and what they make. You know, they're right up front. Yes, it is what it is, but that's what we're trying to make, so it's all good. And their sense of humor when they asked for a name of the internet for this, and the overwhelming response was Yeet Cannon. They eventually caved to internet peer pressure and named it the Yeet Cannon. And in fact, you can get it with Yeet Cannon painted right on the side. This one doesn't have that. I won't hold that against it. The aesthetic that with all the changes they've made is kind of, it has a weird sci-fi cyberpunk vibe that I kind of dig. You know, it's not pretty, but I find it weirdly cool looking. Your mileage will very definitely vary. So that's it. That's the Yeet Cannon, the story of my Yeet Cannon. Thanks again to Rain City Shooting Center and Ryan for giving me this gift. I really am. Thank you. So, if you liked the video, please hit like. It really helps the channel. If you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button, and notifications also helps the channel, as do comments in the comment section. So I hope this finds you well. Stay safe, take care, and we'll talk to you again real soon.